Okay, please be seated. I would like to make an announcement before the keynote speech. There will be a discussion forum after the keynote speech that Sandra is hosting. In that forum, you are free to voice your opinion, dissatisfaction, whatever you can say. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. And after that, then you will be given a few minutes to tidy up yourself, go to toilet and things like that. And those of you who are joining the dinner needs to be at the entrance circular area by 5:20, so that we can then take you to the bus and then ship you to the harbor side and then ask you to jump and things like that. So be punctual. Okay. So Wani.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me to introduce the keynote speaker, Mr. Markus Roselieb. He graduated as a medical doctor from the University of Vienna in 1992. But after that, enjoying and creating spaces become more and more the real focus of his life. In 2009 to 2010, he had an opportunity to design and build a school in Chiang Mai, Thailand. At that time, he was quite frustrated with the conventional construction materials, as they deteriorate quickly when close to the sea and protected poorly against the heat. His proposal to build the school entirely from bamboo and earth was accepted, and the journey began. Since then, he has set up a company that specializes in the design and construction of bamboo and earth buildings, and have designed and built a variety of projects. His Bamboo Sports Hall project won the Civic and Cultural Building of the Year of the Design Award 2018. So let's welcome Mr. Markus Roselieb.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Edward, for inviting me and giving me this chance to present. I'm really very honored to be here today. So I think my presentation will approach the passive and low energy architecture from a different angle than most, not so much from the systems and the system side, which is a very important one, but we come from the material side. And not only material that have a low carbon footprint of low carbon embedded energy, but also how to use this material then to have energy savings over the lifetime of these materials. So I think it's one angle. And the other angle that I would like to add is we've heard so many facts, but for me, the duty of an architect is not only to know the facts, which is very important, but also to tell a story. I think all good buildings tell stories, and especially stories that make people smile. You know, if you have a client and he comes to a building and he looks serious the whole time, it really hurts. I like it when they come and they smile. I think it's a very important part. So storytelling is an art that I find is underestimated as a marketing tool, but also to increase the life quality of the client, of the inhabitant. You know, in Thailand, we have lots of gated communities. And if you stand on a Saturday morning in front of a gated community, you will see an interesting thing happen. Everybody gets out of the house, jumps in their car, and leaves, and goes somewhere else, where it is greener, nicer, better. And for me, this is amazing. These people spend their lifetime savings in the house, but when it comes to their free time, they have to run away. These houses don't give them the feeling of a home. And when we build stuff like this, people say, oh, this is a resort. Is this a hotel? And I get totally confused. Why does a nice place have to belong to someone else? You know? This is a residence. This is a family residence that we designed with the help of the client, like the little cave. They come in, oh, we want this here. You know, it's, of course, custom designed. Nothing is, there is no mass production in what we do. I'm just coming from a different angle. There has to be mass production, understand that. I'm not criticizing that, but I'm criticizing that the story is being lost. That everything has to come from a computer, and only if the calculations are right, this is a right house. And I contest that kind of approach to things. That leads us to the materials that we are using. The main material we're using that distinguishes our work from others is bamboo. Why would we use bamboo? You see, bamboo is a tube. As we all know, structurally, tubes are very strong forms to build things. And it's not only a tube, it's a reinforced tube, because bamboo has these intersections. So every 30, 40 centimeters, there's a reinforcement. Not only is it a reinforced tube, but the fiber strength to fatigue ratio of the bamboo trumps fiberglass. Its tensile strength is equal to steel. And while we produce bamboo, while we let it grow, it absorbs carbon. It doesn't release carbon. So we have a material that has equal structural capabilities to manufactured materials, but at the same time it's beautiful, it's nice to look at, and it is carbon negative when we use it. That's why I started using bamboo, because I just thought it's a very functional material. Actually, the eco aspect came much later. You might have seen this kind of bamboo construction where they use big poles. And when you use big poles, the problem with bamboo is after about 9 meters, the wall of the bamboo gets too thin to be structurally competent. And then you have to make some kind of connections. And nowadays, these connections are made back again to concrete and steel. But if you have a small building, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a big building, you can imagine the leverage. If a force pulls on one side after 9 meters, on the other side is very big. The effect is still on the wall. So we found this kind of structural approach limiting the size of bamboo construction. And you know what I'm presenting you is just our work. This is just the beginning. I'm not saying I know everything, I know the end. It's just the path that we took to expand the scope that bamboo and earth can be used in. So what we did as a new thing was we used pre-engineered, prefabricated, bundled trusses, like steel trusses basically, but made from bamboo. And I used, for this kind of project, I used 2 different independent engineers, one from Holland, one from Colombia, to actually calculate these trusses meter by meter according to the high impact pre-monsoon winds that we have in Chiang Mai, earthquakes, loads, shear forces, whatever is needed. And what we use for this, we use this kind of bamboo that has almost no hole. So when we bundle this, it becomes like a steel cable. It's pure fiber, much more fiber, many more fibers, much more fiber per square centimeter than if you would have a big bamboo that has a big hole in the middle. At the same time, the bamboo is flexible so you can bend it, but unlike a steel cable, it's still load-bearing too. So we make these bundles of bamboo and we connect them 3-dimensionally over the whole length of the bamboo. In that way, we get around the connection problem because the connections between them is over 9 meters. So we have built the school, and we started phase by phase, and every time we build something, we learn. So the first buildings are terrible. You know, I'm not going to show them to you. Every time we build, the next building is better. I can't look at the older stuff. We built this bamboo tunnel in the entrance. I stole this from the Japanese, of course. So the school has an inclusive approach, very much like ours. I mean, our mission really is to bring bamboo and earth also into the 21st century. The problem with these materials is the image problem. You know, people used bamboo in the tropics since long time, but their idea of bamboo is it grows and it breaks down, it grows and it breaks down. But that is not a problem inherent in the material. It's like everything else in the world, rather human ignorance. Because bamboo in its first years is food. The panda bear eats it, the elephant eats it, insects, the human being eats it, full of sugar, almost no fiber, like asparagus. But the older it gets, the less sugar, the more fiber. So if you want to have bamboo as a construction material, it has to be at least 4 years old. But bamboo is a grass. So the young ones grow on the outside. Much easier to cut. Human being, inherently lazy, outside. Build the houses from food material and then are surprised that it comes down of them within 2 years. So it's not the material. If you wait, if you select it right, if you treat it well, bamboo can last 80 years without a problem. Our design concept was, because the school is inclusive, it's an international school, but they use a Buddhist curriculum, values. They teach the children values. Persistence, kindness, actually universal values, but the words are taken from the Buddhist teaching. So we use the lotus flower, which is a symbol of Buddha's wisdom, put it on the side, and then the layers of the petals of the lotus flower become the layers of the roof. In the process, we make a model, also from bamboo. The model will tell us a lot about initial structural strength and weaknesses as well. And then we prefabricated those trusses. So with the help of an engineer, we asked him on the lower part of the truss. So I love engineers. So it's a young Dutch guy, and asked him, so how many of this kind of bamboo do I need to make a span of 7 meters? And he looks at me and says, 8. Okay, and how many do I need up here? 10. As simple as that, you know. Before, it was always like this, you know. And now you have engineers. It's the engineers actually who help us do the next step. And he has, you know, he has data, he has everything to support his claim. So here you see the production. Then we have to, of course, use cranes because they're pretty big to lift it into space. Then they are connected according to the schedule that the engineers gave us. And along the process, our curves start to come along. One of them did this nice, really funny wind simulation for us. I'm always afraid it's going to crawl off the screen. And so we ended up with this. The layers of the roof have of course, different effects. It's for natural ventilation. The hot air can go up and then out on the upper part, creates a continuous airflow. And at the same time, the second layer of the roof provides natural lighting. Here you can see the lights coming in on the side, also the light on the top, and flowing down the staircase. And here you see with the rain, everybody is always asking me, it's so open, it's so big, is the rain going to come in? And here you can see the overhang is so big that this area doesn't even get wet, doesn't even come close to raining into the building. So we find that using bamboo not only as structural and all the other things, it's just having this material in a room completely changes the atmosphere of the room. You could, of course, build this with steel and then paint it and all of this, but it would be very difficult to recreate this kind of atmosphere. Besides bamboo, we use earth. We use earth in 3 different kinds of construction. This is traditional adobe bricks, and inside the adobe brick walls, we use bamboo as a tensile element because we do have earthquakes in Chiang Mai once in a while, and earth has no tensile strength at all. So we need to reinforce that. But we usually combine several techniques. So here you have adobe bricks. Here you see a traditional rammed earth wall going up. And we only use manual labor. We don't use any machines. And that is, I think that is a part of where we're located. You know, in Thailand, where I am is close to Burma. All my workers come from the Shan state. They're Thai Yai from Burma. Their villages were burned down. They had to flee to Thailand. The Thais don't really like them either. So most of them have no citizenship, and they just come and work, and I get along with them very well. So I try not to distribute my money into machine producers, but straight to the people who can really need it. So here's the rammed earth wall after taking off the formwork. And you know, this is kind of thing. This is my foreman here. He can't read or write, but he's one of the best earth workers I've ever met. So you see why modern architecture, and also we like rammed earth walls, just the structure it gives, and the lines that you see here, this is just the lime or red earth. And here the colored ones are soft wood that we embed into the wall for the teachers to hang things on, because the rammed earth walls are so hard you can't even put a nail inside. Here on top of the rammed earth wall is another kind of construction called wattle and daub, which I will show in a second. Here's a different kind of truss that we use for the roofs. Here is a V-truss that we also prefabricate first. Also, the connections between the bigger parts are bigger bamboo dowels that are then connected with smaller ones that you cannot see so well anymore because the heads are cut off here. And then these trusses are lifted on top of the rammed earth walls, our rammed earth walls. And rammed earth is a word that everybody uses differently. We use it in the way that 60% is gravel. It's actually stone, only 40% is clay and sand. So once they're finished, they're actually load-bearing. And we make small samples. We send them to the university. They test the load-bearing capability. So all is scientifically well. And the same, the trusses go up, and they are connected according to the shear forces, the winds, and the loads. And you can see we only use bamboo dowels. If we use nails or screws, they have a different thermal characteristic. In no time, they would crack the bamboo, and then the structure would not be structurally competent. Here you see on top a typical wattle and daub wall coming up. We have a bamboo structure with a central poles, and then we have this kind of lattice work on both sides, and then it is filled with earth. So it's a much lighter weight construction, and in the middle is an air pocket. So it's a good noise insulator and even heat insulator, but totally different than adobe brick or rammed earth walls, which have thermal mass as heat insulation technique. And but you know, you can also build modern. We build according to the client's needs. You know, whatever makes it work. This is also an earthen house, but this client just preferred wood, the traditional Thai roof, and you see here the walls are built of this house with adobe bricks. But when you look at it, most people wouldn't know the difference. But again, here, the main living area is not air conditioned, not necessary with these walls, and the way we protect the windows from sunshine is a little bit up there, but the air can go up, and this you cannot see here, but on the left and right-hand side are ventilation spaces, and the hot air can go out there. Only the bedrooms are air conditioned, because we have the unfortunate event in Thailand that in March and April, people burn, and then we have really bad air. So for sleeping, sometimes it's good. Here, totally different structure. A wine tasting sala for a Thai princess on the hills of Chiang Mai. And here she's walking, and it's a very beautiful location. And we try to, you know, recreate the lines of the mountains with our design. And then she wanted next to her wine tasting sala, a meditation sala. I think that's a great complement of the two sides of life that she's living. And that is the dome inside the meditation space, where we use acrylic paints to let the light come in. But right under the acrylic paints, there's openings for the hot air to go out. Again, natural ventilation and light at the same time. A totally different one is Kasetsart University. Here we have 2 or 3 Thai speakers from this university. It's Thailand's biggest agricultural university. It's a research center. It's a chicken farm. They had this chicken farm here, and Thailand is very famous for chicken farming. They're very good at it. And you're not allowed to go in the building because there's a very controlled environment to make this chicken grow fast within, 20 days from nothing to finished or something like this. And so we were commissioned to do something that makes this whole a little bit more like a agricultural university and attract the interest of also foreign clients to come and cooperate. So there's a lecture hall here, a smaller meeting room here, research space, open space, and because one of the heads of a university was Thai Chinese, we incorporated a little bit of Thai Chinese features. The whole idea was to do a traditional farmhouse with a courtyard kind of idea to bring back the farming feeling. But the most important thing also to bring things in the 21st century is also detail, I mean, you can see the problem is, again, image. People see bamboo and earth as either poor people's material or hippie material. And I basically cut my hair to come here so you don't confuse me with the second group. I have nothing against them, but the problem is it keeps the material back in these groups, We try to really break out of it, and then the detail is really important. We had this wall, this ugly wall of the chicken building, so I had a spray artist come and make this chicken face so you can look through the eyes of the chicken into the life of the chicken, philosophy. So yeah, we were very lucky to have, the reason why I show you this, not only we're proud, but we're making this step, taking this kind of construction outside, not just being the earth and bamboo guys, the eco guys. This is all awards where, this is a sports hall or this is a civic and cultural building. It's not awards for eco building, and I think this is very important because concrete and steel have this untouchable thing, Don't talk to me. We have the materials already. Concrete and steel, that's it. We don't need anything else. Untouchables, that kind of sparks me immediately. We have to find some other thing. There can't be 2 materials that are better because they are not. You cannot build this with steel and get the same effect. So you have a material with bamboo that is beautiful, that is lightweight, that is strong, that is long-lasting, that tells a story, that is carbon negative, and it is the only really truly sustainable material. If you cut the tree is gone, you have to plant a new one. The bamboo, if you cut it correctly, it's like pruning a tree. Instead of 1, 2 more come up. So once the plant is up and running, you have nothing else you have to do. Every year you can just cut and harvest. And it actually gets more every year. So if people talk sustainable. Anybody can beat that? I don't think so. There's nothing can beat this kind of material growth. And the other part that is interesting is you have this guru of capital research, Karl Marx, right, the book about capital, and he says capital tends to concentrate, right? And you can see it with the consolidation of the big industry. The steel industry, right now, there's only 2 industries who produce only almost half the world output. I mean, I call that concentration of capital. And if you look at this kind of material here, if you have bamboo, everybody can grow this material. You're not longer dependent on import or on some rich people or the world economy. You can teach people how to grow bamboo. The whole economics, the socio-economics changes if you use a material that doesn't have to be produced by a big corporation. So I think concluding, I just would like to bring the story of materials a little bit more into the foreground and not only the story of systems and processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for a few questions and comments. The lady in the middle there.
Hi, I really enjoyed that presentation. Just a quick question about from my understanding, if you use natural materials and you have to make sure that they are always drying when it rains, like for example wood or even bamboo, you always lift it up a little bit from the ground so it can dry when it rains so it doesn't rot. But at some points, just maybe I got it wrong, you put it as reinforcement in earth walls. Do you have any problems there that it rots? Or?
No, the walls have to stay dry as well.
Okay.
So we design, your observation is totally right. Your design has to correspond to the material. So we are in the tropics anyway, so usually we design very big roof overhangs, but also the earthen walls. We finish them with a lime finishing that prevents the walls from getting wet inside.
Thank you.
Another question towards the back.
Thank you so much for the interesting presentation. Actually, you said it very clear. It's always perceived when we use natural materials, it's either for hippie living style or it's just for peasant culture and people who are poor who couldn't afford to live in buildings with using industrial building materials that is fancy, that's modern. And similar projects like the ones you showed here showed totally the different, or the opposite, sorry. It's still possible to use natural materials and we could still get the same quality and even better quality compared to modern buildings. When we will be able to see more of those buildings common in our architecture practice compared to just individual examples and individual initiatives by people who are passionate like you doing similar kind of projects?
I hope I understood your real question right. You see, the thing is, I was asked many times by NGOs to cooperate on cheap and quick social housing. And I found this, and I apologize for my words, but I found this total nonsense. Because the poor people see bamboo and earth as poor people's material, and they don't want poor people's material. They want to live in concrete and tin sheets housing, right? Because for them, they want to live in the materials that the rich people use. I was involved in projects up in the hill. We built this house, a Korean NGO built the walls, we built the roofs. A year later, I come back on a motorcycle tour, looks really run down. I asked the headman, what happens? Are you not using the building? He said, this building? We use this building. And that is, again, cheap, concrete blocks and tin roof, and so that's what they want. Why don't you give them what they want? I never understand this need to impose our aesthetics and ethics on people who are poor. They think differently. So to answer your question, if you want this kind of materials to become more popular, you have to use it yourself. The rich people have to use it. That's why I build high-end houses. That's why I position our company in the very high end. The house that you saw with the roofs, this was almost $1 million house. Also the other houses, I'm not building cheap. I'm not even interested in cheap. Because only if we can, and I'm not also in the super rich category. We have to go for middle class, upper middle class, because then we can get the mass and we can get the quality. And once these people buy, then the poor people will copy them again, and then it will be more popular. Did I answer your question?
Any other question? Yes, one on the other side.
So thank you first for the inspiring presentation. Just two short questions. First, how do you treat the bamboo? And second, how do you reinforce the rammed earth walls? Do you use bamboo also inside of the rammed earth walls?
So for first question, treatment of bamboo, we use borax, so natural salt, and boric acid, because it is the best documented and also in our experience the best way that it works. The Colombians were so kind to reduce their forests to an almost unusable amount about 20, 30 years ago. And then they had some very smart people there at that time, and they had to use the material that was left, guadua bamboo. They have a big kind of bamboo. And they started using and documenting the use of borax treatment at that time. And you can see the things that they built 30, even 40 years ago are still there just the same, as long as they were designed and built correctly. And at the same time, the good thing about borax, it's a natural salt. You can lick it. It was actually used for food preservation for a long time. In Thailand, it still is, until somebody on the internet ingested 20 kilos and died, and suddenly it's, you know. But unlike the chrome, cadmium, and whatever else is used in there, which wouldn't work for children in schools and so on. And for the rammed earth walls, yes, we use also bamboo reinforcement, just like in the adobe walls. It's a little bit more tricky because when you ram and there's something that it is elastic, so we don't do a lot, to be honest, because it's rather tricky. But yes, some. In our rammed earth walls, we only have a steel bar coming up from the foundations to go up and grab the roof, because our roofs are very light and we need to anchor them against the uplift. But these steel bars have no further function for the wall stability itself.
Okay, any further questions? If not, I have one actually. Sorry. What is the span of this particular hall? I mean, do you remember?
Yeah, this is about 18 meters.
18, okay. Oh, there's one question over there.
Yeah, inside.
Yeah.
That's quick. Hi. So I imagine that we don't build many buildings with bamboo because it hasn't been done much, so this has been a learning curve. And I don't know if you're familiar with pillars of the earth, or when people started building cathedrals without models. First they built a cathedral and then it fell down and then they had to build another one. I was wondering if you had any examples of things that went completely wrong and that you've learned from.
Yeah, things go wrong all the time, of course.
Can you share with us a story do you have to build this once before and you're not showing us? Or?
I mean, I don't have a photo, but in the first buildings, for example, you saw this V-shape kind of truss, and I don't know why. In the beginning, we thought that this will be stronger to split the bamboo and make a bundle of split bamboo instead of using the round bamboo. I mean, you can't be that stupid. I mean, sometimes you look back and think, how did you ever come up with that idea? A tube is always stronger than a flat thing, So after some time, it looked like this, Now I have to take the roof down and replace this. So yes, we learn all the time. Oh. I think common sense, stay calm, look around a lot, and you will find the right way. And then you will still make mistakes. And in the end, if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. You see, the most important thing is to build, and not to be too afraid. Fear is really the end of innovation and of progress. And don't listen to others.
Thank you. Actually, I also built in bamboo and earth wall. We have a lot to talk about. Thank you.